So when we first get into Premiere Pro, basically this is the window that we see. So Premiere Pro is a non-linear video editor, and it's the application we'll be using throughout the course for all our kind of video editing. And basically when we're working in Premiere Pro and we're importing video files and that kind of stuff, we're working non-destructively. So basically any footage that we import, when we chop it up on our timeline and kind of put it together, we don't lose that original footage, it just refers to it. So we're keeping that original footage intact. Any edits that we make are non-destructive, so we can always refine our edits kind of as we go through. So if we chopped out a bit of video that we want to bring back in, we can bring it back in, and as long as we don't delete those original files, we can always keep editing our project. And that's an important kind of point as well. So whenever we're working in Premiere Pro, it's not like Microsoft Word, where when you kind of copy an image in there, that image is in the Microsoft document. It's actually referring to your original video files as you're editing. So you can't delete those original video files, okay? And it also means that if you're moving from one computer to another, you need to move your Premiere Pro project file as well as your original video file. So there's a bit of kind of technical stuff to learn as we go through as well. Has anyone played with Photoshop at all? Yeah. So with Photoshop, you kind of push a button and something fun happens. But with Premiere Pro, we're going to spend a bit of time doing some technical stuff. And then a little bit later this morning, some fun stuff will happen. But it's going to take a little bit of time to get to the fun stuff. So we're going to hit the New Project button. So basically, in our New Project window, we can name the project here. So we'll call this Intro to Premiere Pro. And we've got some information here, a lot of which we can basically ignore. The main thing that we need to change is the location where our project is going to be saved. So if we hit the Browse button here, okay, at the moment it's saving it to some weird location in our Mac or PC's home folder. But we're going to just throw it onto the desktop for the moment, which is not always a good idea, but for today we're gonna kind of drop it there. And I think the desktops on these machines might be the thing that gets deleted every time you log out. So we've changed the location to the desktop. That's where the project file is going to be stored, and it will also mean that any render files and that kind of stuff will be stored in that location as well. So basically we have a few other bits of information here as well. We've got our video display format, which can be in timecode, feet and frames, which basically is if you're editing film, you would want it as that. And then as frames, which is basically if you're doing like stop motion animation, sometimes you will do a production in frames. But for the most part, we'll be working in timecode. And we'll have a look at how timecode works as well. And that timecode relates to the footage that you've kind of grabbed from your camera as well, and kind of helps you to accurately edit your footage. And then we've got our audio will display as audio sample, so it's going to show like an audio waveform. And then the capture format here, DV or HDV, they still got it there, but we don't actually need it. Normally, we're just capturing stuff from a memory card or something like that. So we can basically ignore all of these things that we see here. The scratch disks, we can ignore them for now, but they do become important if you're working on kind of higher end production. So basically, the normal way that an editor will have their computer set up is they'll have their system working from the internal hard drive of their computer. They'll have a capture disk for their captured footage, and then they'll have another drive for their rendered files. And you can see down here, you can see you've got a location where you can store your captured video, you've got a location where you can store your captured audio, and we can have different folders or hard drives for all those different things. For most of the stuff that we do, I've never changed this really. For most of the stuff that we do, we don't need to change this, okay? It's only if you're really working on higher end stuff. But basically the theory is that the hard drive is normally the bottleneck for the speed of your computer. So basically if you're running all your video, so say 1080p or 4K video from your hard drive and your system and your software, then the computer's just not going to be able to read and write fast enough from that internal hard drive all at once to do all those tasks. So the quickest way to speed up your computer is to buy an external solid-state drive and store your video production files on that drive. So you're running your system and your software off two different drives, okay? And that will speed things up. So we'll click OK to this. So basically we've changed the location and the name. That's all we need to change. We'll click OK. So when we've got panels open that we don't want, we can go to Window. So there's a learning workspace. So we're going to go to editing. Okay, so basically when we open up Premiere Pro, we've got these kind of 4 different panels that we can see, and they're all important. So if we go to the source panel on the top left, this is where we'll see any source clips that we're making selections from, and Also, any clips that we've double clicked on our timeline that we're changing a kind of parameter for. So if we've added effects to our timeline and then we're changing parameters of those effects, then we'll be in this source or effect controls panel up at the top left. Okay, so for things like enlarging a clip or rotating a clip, we'll see more information up there once we get some clips in. The program window and the timeline are interchangeable. So basically, the program window up here on the top right is where we're going to see our edit coming together. Okay, so as we're editing, we'll see the different cuts and stuff in our timeline. So we'll see kind of a graphical view of all those clips, and then in the program window, we'll see the actual edit coming together. Okay, so that's where we'll see this. And then on the bottom left here, we have the project panel. And then we also have things like the media browser for browsing different hard drives, which I rarely use, to be honest. I'm normally just going to file import or dragging things into the project. So the project is one of the main windows you'll be working with. And then also the effects panel is another important one. So if we're adding any transitions or video effects or audio effects, then that's where we'll find those different effects. So that's a basic overview of what we've, the main kind of 4 panels. And we've also got then these editing tools here as well. So we've got our selection tool and then some other editing tools that we'll cover as we go through today for making different kinds of edit in Premiere Pro. So the other thing we've got as well is our audio meters up here. So basically we can see the level of the audio, and we'll talk about that as well. If we have our sound too loud, then we can get something called clipping, which is basically the sound distorting as it kind of, anyone had a speaker that's blown, it kind of clips at the top. We can make that happen here if we want to, but normally we're trying to manage our sound so that we're mixing audio and voice and any music tracks together so that they don't peak out, so that they kind of sound good.